At my cousin's graduation they applauded him endlessly while treating me like I hadn't moved forward a single inch. So I chose that moment to drop my own success story, and their applause turned into stunned silence. I'm writing this at 3 a.m. because I can't sleep anymore. Haven't been able to for weeks. My therapist says I need to process my actions, but honestly, I think I just need to confess to strangers on the internet because everyone in my reel won't even look at me anymore. It started at my cousin Jake's college graduation, May 15, 2024. I remember the date because it's burned into my brain as the day I destroyed everything good in my over something so petty that I can barely type it out. Sarah had been distant for months. My girlfriend of 4 years, the woman I was planning to propose to that summer. She'd gotten this promotion at her marketing firm and suddenly she was working late, traveling for conferences, making more money than me. I told I was proud of her. I told everyone I was proud of her. But sitting in those plastic chairs watching my 22-year-old cousin accept his diploma while my relatives fawned over him like he'd cured cancer, something twisted in my chest. Jake's going straight to Goldman Sachs. My aunt announced to our table. Starting salary is more than most people make in 2 years. My uncle clapped Jake on the back. Always knew this kid was going places. Meanwhile I'm 28 working the same middle management job I've had for 3 years, watching my younger cousin lap me, and while Sarah's success makes me feel smaller every day. The worst part, Sarah was genuinely happy for Jake. She kept saying how inspiring it was to see someone so young achieve so much. She said it with this light in her eyes that I hadn't seen when she looked at me in months. That's when I noticed her. Jenna, Jake's friend from college, blonde, bubbly, and she kept complimenting my tie. Said I looked sophisticated compared to the other guys. Said I seemed mature and established. For the first time in months, someone was looking at me like I mattered. Sarah was deep in conversation with my mom about wedding venues. Wedding venues for other people, of course. We'd never talked about our own wedding seriously. I kept saying someday and she'd stop pushing. Seemed stressed, Jenna said, appearing next to me by the drinks table. Family events can be overwhelming. I should have walked away, should have gone back to Sarah. Should have done literally anything else. Instead I said, have no idea. We ended talking for an hour. She laughed at my jokes. Asked about my job like it was fascinating instead of soul-crushing. Made me feel like the successful, attractive man I used to think I was. When she asked for my number to stay in touch, I gave it to her. The text started that night: for being such great company today. Hope we can out again soon. I told it was harmless. Just friendship. Sarah was always buried in work anyway, and here was someone who actually wanted to spend time with me. The text got flirtier. Jenna would send pictures of her coffee, her lunch, herself in new outfits, asking for my opinion. I started looking forward to her messages more than coming home to Sarah. 3 weeks later Jenna was in town for a job interview. She asked if I wanted to grab drinks and catch. I lied to Sarah, told her I was having drinks with college buddies. Sitting across from Jenna at that dimly lit bar, she looked even better than I remembered. She wore this red dress that made every other woman in the place invisible. She touched my arm when she laughed, called me handsome, said she'd been thinking about me since the graduation. Deserve someone who appreciates, she said, her hand resting on mine. Someone who makes feel like the amazing man are. I knew what was happening. I knew I should leave. Instead I leaned closer. Sarah doesn't even notice me anymore, I heard saying. I'm like furniture in my own relationship. Her loss, Jenna whispered. When she me I didn't pull away. We ended back at her hotel. I won't go into details because honestly they don't matter. What matters is that I chose to be there. I chose to betray the woman who loved me, who was building a with me, because some girl at a graduation party made me feel important for 5 minutes. I told it was just one night, a mistake, something I'd take to my grave. But secrets have weight. They change how I move through the world. I started coming home later, avoiding Sarah's eyes, picking fights over nothing. The guilt was eating me alive, but instead of confessing I got angry at her for making me feel guilty. Twisted logic, I know, but that's where my head was. Jenna kept texting, wanted to meet again, said she was falling for me, said she knew I felt the same way. The crazy part, I started believing I did. For 2 months I lived this double. Sarah, who trusted me completely, planning our future while I was planning my exit strategy. Jenna, who barely knew me, promising a where I'd feel appreciated and desired every day. I was gonna break with Sarah after her work conference in August. Clean break, start fresh with someone who got me. Then Sarah came home early. Found the texts. Found the hotel receipt I'd forgotten in my jacket pocket. Found everything. I walked into our apartment that Tuesday evening expecting the usual quiet dinner and Netflix. Instead, Sarah was sitting at our kitchen table with my phone in her hands and tears streaming down her face. Who is Jenna? She asked in this broken voice I'd never heard before. My turn to ice. Sarah, I can explain. Explain what? That been telling another woman love her while I've been planning our future. That been meeting her in hotels while I've been working extra hours to save for our wedding. She'd seen everything. Every text. Every lay. Every moment I'd chosen someone else over her. It didn't mean anything. I said, which might be the stupidest sentence ever spoken by a human being. Sarah laughed, but it was hollow and sharp. It didn't mean anything. Told her we're thinking about leaving me. Told her I was cold and distant. Told her loved her, Mike, multiple times. Had I said that, looking at her face I knew I had. The conference got cancelled. She continued, her voice eerily calm. I came home to surprise with dinner reservations at that place, love. I was going to tell I got the regional manager position. I was going to tell I'm ready to start planning our wedding for real. The words hit me like physical blows. She'd been planning surprises while I'd been planning my escape. I'm sorry, I whispered, but the words felt pathetic even as they left my mouth. Sorry. Sarah stood. And for the first time in 4 years she looked at me like I was a stranger. Sorry. I trusted completely. I never questioned the late nights or the distance because I thought we're just stressed about work. I made excuses to my friends when started acting weird. I defended to my sister when she said something felt off. Each word was, Sarah please. I called college buddies tonight. Wanted to know how boys' night went 3 weeks ago. Funny thing, Mike, none of them had seen in months. The room was spinning. She'd unraveled everything in a few hours. I loved so much I was ready to spend my entire with. She said in the past tense destroyed me. I would have done anything for. Anything, and it away for some girl met at a graduation party. She doesn't matter, I said desperately. Matter, or everything to me. Sarah's laugh was bitter. If I was everything to wouldn't have spent 2 months telling another woman she was future. She was right. God help me, she was completely right. I'm staying at my sister's tonight, she said, grabbing her purse. I need time to think. How much time? Sarah looked at me one last time, and I saw the exact moment she stopped loving me. However long it takes to figure out how to love someone who broke my heart while I was planning our forever. The door closed behind her with a quiet click that sounded like the end of everything. That was 6 weeks ago. She moved out the next week while I was at work. Left her key on the counter with a note that said, "Take care of." I haven't heard from her since. Jenna stopped texting when I told her Sarah found out. Turns out she wasn't interested in being someone's rebound or dealing with drama. The woman I destroyed my for vanished the second things got complicated. Now I'm alone in our apartment surrounded by empty spaces where Sarah's things used to be, realizing that I had everything I ever wanted and I'd away because my ego couldn't handle my girlfriend being more successful than me. My family won't talk to me. Sarah's friends cross the street when they see me. I wake every morning in the bed we used to share, and for about 3 seconds, I forget what I did. Then reality crashes back in. I keep thinking about that moment at the graduation when Jenna first complimented me. If I just smiled and walked away. If I just been proud of Sarah instead of by her success. If I just remembered that love isn't a competition. But I didn't. And now I'm writing confessions to strangers at 3 a.m. because I can't live with the weight of what I've done. The worst part isn't the loneliness or the shame. It's knowing that somewhere out there, the best person I've ever known is learning to stop loving me. And I have no one to blame, but it's been 3 months since my last post. People keep asking for updates in my DMs, so here it is. Spoiler alert, it gets so much worse. I thought losing Sarah was rock bottom. I was wrong. Rock bottom was still miles below me, and I was about to find every jagged edge on the way down. 2 weeks after Sarah moved out, I convinced I could fix this. She just needed time to cool off, right? She'd realize everyone makes mistakes. We'd go to counseling, work through it, come out stronger. God, I was delusional. I started small. Flowers to her office. She had them thrown away before I even left the parking lot. Her assistant told me later that Sarah didn't even open the card. Then I tried showing at her sister's house where she was staying. Emma answered the door, took one look at me and said, "I got some nerve coming here." I pleaded. Talk to her. Mike, she cried for 3 straight days. Tear-eye dies. I had to take time off work to make sure she ate something besides tissue paper. The image of Sarah crying because of me was like getting punched in the chest. Emma, please. I know I messed. Emma's voice got dangerous. Didn't forget an anniversary or leave dishes in the sink. Had an affair. Lied to her face every day for 2 months while she was planning future together. It wasn't an affair, I said weakly. It was just what? Just emotional cheating and one night in a hotel. Just destroying the trust of someone who would have died for. Just what exactly? I stood there like and realizing I didn't have an answer that didn't make me sound like a complete monster. She doesn't want to see Mike, ever. And after what put her through, I think that's pretty generous. The door slammed in my face. But I didn't give. I couldn't give. Sarah was my person. We were supposed to grow old together. I wasn't going to lose her over one mistake. I tried texting her directly. The messages went straight to read but never got responses. I could see her online on social media but she'd blocked me everywhere. I started using accounts just to see what she was posting, which I now realize was absolutely unhinged behavior. Her posts were me. Pictures with friends looking happy. Quotes about moving forward and finding strength. She was healing. I wasn't part of that process. I was the wound she was healing from. 3 weeks into my Win Her Back campaign, I got a text from an unknown number. "This is Emma. Sarah asked me to tell to stop. Stop the flowers, stop the text, stop driving by her work. She's considering a restraining order. Leave her alone." A restraining order. The woman who used to fall asleep in my arms every night was considering legal action to keep me away from her. That should have been my wake call. Should have been the moment I accepted what I'd done and started working on. Instead, I spiraled harder. I started drinking. Not just at after work but serious drinking. Whiskey for breakfast drinking. Call in sick because I can't stand drinking. My work performance tanked. I'd show late, leave early, spend entire meetings staring at my phone hoping for some sign from Sarah. My boss Kevin called me into his office after I missed a major client presentation because I was at 2 p.m. "Mike, what's going on with? This isn't like," I broke down and told him everything. The cheating, the breakup, the desperate attempts to fix it. Kevin listened without judgment, then said something that should have helped but somehow made everything worse. "Have considered that maybe she's better off without." The question hit me like a what? I mean, if we're willing to cheat on her once, who's to say wouldn't do it again? Maybe she's dodging a bullet. I wanted to argue but the words stuck in my throat. Because deep down I was starting to wonder the same thing. That night I called Jenna. I know, I can't know how that sounds. But I was drowning, and she was the only person might understand what I was going through. "Mike, I thought we agreed not to contact each other anymore. I need someone to talk to. Someone who gets it. Silent. Gets what exactly. How I'm feeling. How everything fell apart. Mike, I'm not therapist. And honestly, I feel terrible about what happened. I knew I had a girlfriend. I should have walked away. At least she had the decency to feel guilty. I was past the point of decency entirely. But said love me. I said hating how desperate I sounded. I barely knew. I said a lot of things. We both got caught in something that wasn't real. Because we wanted it to. Because we're unhappy and I was lonely. But that doesn't make it right and it doesn't make it worth destroying relationship over. She hung, so there I was. No Sarah, no Jenna, no future I'd been planning. No backup plan I'd been fantasizing about. Just me alone with the consequences of my choices. The worst part was how everyone else's lives just continued. The world didn't stop because Mike Thompson cheated on his girlfriend. My coworkers still went to lunch. My neighbors still walked their dogs. People still fell in love and got married and lived happily ever after while I sat in my empty apartment wondering how I'd become the villain in my own story. Then I found out about David. Sarah's new coworker. The guy she'd been getting coffee with. The one taking her to dinner after her long work days. I found out through mutual friends who probably shouldn't have told me but felt bad about how pathetic I'd become. It's not serious, they said. She's just trying to move on. Move on. With someone else. Someone who hadn't betrayed her. I Facebook stalked him like a crazy person. David Chen, 30, marketing director at a tech startup, graduated from Stanford, ran marathons, had kind eyes and a genuine smile in every photo. Everything I wasn't. The rational part of my brain knew Sarah deserved to be happy. The rational part knew I had no right to be upset about her dating someone else. But the rational part was being drowned out by a voice that kept screaming, that should be. Had her first, had 4 years with her. I started showing places I knew she might be. Her favorite coffee shop, the gym she belonged to. The park where we used to walk on Sunday mornings. I told it was coincidence. I told I just wanted to see how she was doing. Really, I wanted her to see me. Wanted her to remember what we had. Wanted her to realize that whatever she was doing with David couldn't compare to our history. The third time she spotted me at her coffee shop, she walked over to my table. For a second, hope flared in my chest. She was going to talk to me. She was going to give me a chance to explain. Mike, what are doing here? Same as pie. This isn't usual place. Their espresso always said it tastes burned. She remembered. After everything, she still remembered tiny details about my preferences. Maybe my taste changed. Sarah sat down across from me, and for a moment it felt like old times. Then she spoke. Need to stop this. Stop what? Following me. Showing where I am. My friends are telling me or asking about my schedule, my plans. It has to stop. I'm not following. I live in this neighborhood too. Mike. Her voice was gentle but firm. I know. In a lying I could always tell. The truth of that statement burned. She had always been able to read me like a book. Except for those 2 months when I was living a double, apparently. I said, dropping the pretense. I miss us. I know. But missing something doesn't mean get to have it back. We were together for 4 years, Sarah. Doesn't that count for anything? Accounts for everything. That's why this hurts so much. Her eyes filled with tears she wouldn't let fall. Those 4 years were real. They were beautiful. But ended them when chose someone else. I'm here, aren't I? I'm fighting for us. Or not fighting for us, Mike. Or fighting against the consequences of choices. There's a difference. She stood to leave, then turned back. I heard about the drinking. And the problems at work. I'm worried about. Even after everything I'd put her through, she was worried about me. The kindness in her voice almost broke me completely. I for worried then maybe. No. Being worried doesn't mean I want back. It means I care about as a human being and I don't want to see destroy. But I can't be the person who saves from this. Have to do that. She left me sitting there with my untouched coffee and my shattered delusions. That night I called my mom. Told her everything. The cheating, the breakup, the drinking, the stalking behavior I was too ashamed to admit was stalking. Honey, she said, and I could hear her crying. What have done? I don't know how to fix it, Mom. Can't fix it. Some things can't be unfixed. But I love her. Love isn't just a feeling, Mike. It's a choice make every day. Chose not to love her when chose to be with someone else. That's not true. I never stopped loving her. Then why did treat her like she didn't matter? I didn't have an answer for that either. Mom suggested therapy. Said I needed to figure out why I'd sabotaged the best thing in my before I could even think about moving forward. I made an appointment with Dr. Martinez the next week. Spent an hour crying in her office while she asked questions I didn't want to answer. Why do you think cheated on Sarah? I don't know. I made a mistake. Cheating isn't usually a mistake. It's a series of decisions. Decided to give number to Jenna. Decided to text her back. Decided to meet her for drinks. Decided to lie to Sarah about where we're going. Decided to go to her hotel room. That's a lot of decisions for a mistake. She was right. Every step of the way I'd chosen betrayal over loyalty. I'd chosen my ego over my relationship. I'd chosen immediate gratification over long-term happiness. I think I was jealous of her success. I admit it. Sarah was doing so well at work, making more money than me, getting recognition. I felt invisible in my own relationship. So found someone who made feel visible. Yeah, how did that work out for her? The question was rhetorical, but it hit home anyway. In trying to feel more important, I'd made completely to the whose opinion mattered most. Dr. Martinez gave me homework. I had to make a list of every decision that led to my betrayal of Sarah. I had to examine why I made each choice. I had to stop contacting Sarah entirely and focus on my own healing. The list took me 3 days to write. Seeing all my choices laid out like that was devastating. Each decision seemed small in isolation, but together they formed a pattern of selfishness and cowardice that made me sick to look at. I was supposed to be working on, learning to be alone, figuring out why I'd blown for wounded pride and validation from a stranger. Instead I was planning one last grand gesture. Sarah's birthday was coming, October 15th. We'd spent her last 4 birthdays together. I knew exactly what she'd want, exactly how to make the day special. I was going to prove to her that no one could love her like I did. That whatever she had with David was nothing compared to what we'd built together. I was going to show at her apartment with her favorite flowers, her favorite dinner from that Italian place she loved, and the engagement ring I'd been carrying around since May. I was going to propose, on her birthday in front of David if necessary. Looking back now I can see how completely unhinged this plan was. But in my broken state of mind it seemed romantic. Desperate, sure, but romantic. I spent days planning every detail. Wrote out a speech about how sorry I was, how much I'd change how we were meant to be together. October 15th arrived. I drove to her new apartment building with my trunk full of flowers and takeout containers and false hope. I was about to learn that some bridges don't just. Sometimes they, taking everything thought knew about with them. This is my last post. After today I'm deleting this account, getting off social media, and disappearing from the internet for a while. Maybe forever. What happened on Sarah's birthday? I can't even type it without my hand shaking, but I need to get it out. I need people to understand how far someone can fall when they refuse to accept reality. October 15th, Sarah's 27th birthday. I'd been planning this for a week, had it all mapped out like some kind of military operation. I'd researched her new building, knew which apartment was hers from following the pizza delivery guy one night. Yes, I realize how that sounds. No, I didn't realize it then. I showed at 7 p.m. with an armload of white roses, her favorite pasta from Bella Vista, a bottle that we drank on our first anniversary, and a ring box in my jacket pocket. The ring wasn't even new. I'd bought it 6 months ago, back when I thought I was going to propose after a work conference. Back when I still thought I was a good person who deserved good things. I buzzed her apartment, no answer, tried again, still nothing. Then I heard laughter coming from the building's rooftop terrace. Sarah's laugh, I'd know it anywhere. The building had an outdoor staircase for fire emergencies. I told I was just gonna peek, see if it was really her, maybe catch her eye and wave. I climbed those stairs carrying flowers and takeout containers like I was delivering happiness instead of stalking my ex-girlfriend on her birthday. The rooftop was decorated with string lights and balloons. About 20 people were there laughing and talking and having the kind of fun I hadn't been part of in months. And there was Sarah. She looked beautiful. Radiant. She was wearing this blue dress I'd never seen before, her hair longer than when we were together. She was surrounded by friends, holding a glass of champagne, and she was laughing at something David said. David, he was right there next to her, his hand on the small of her back in a way that was casual and comfortable and intimate. The way I used to touch her when we were together and happy and I thought nothing could ever break us. They looked right together. Natural, like they fit. For a moment I almost left. Almost realized how crazy this whole thing was and just walked away. But then Sarah turned and saw standing there in the shadows of my pathetic care package, and her face went white. The conversation stopped. Everyone followed her gaze to where I was lurking by the staircase like some kind of deranged birthday surprise. Mike. Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. What are doing here? I stepped in the light, flowers in one hand, takeout bag in the other, trying to smile like this was all perfectly normal. Happy birthday, I said, and my voice cracked on the words. The silence stretched forever. 20 pairs of eyes staring at me, Sarah's friends, people who used to invite me to their parties, looking at me like I was a stranger who'd wandered into their private world. How did know where I lived? Good question. One I couldn't answer without admitting I'd been following her. I wanted to surprise. For birthday, like old times. Old time. Emma stepped forward, and I could see the anger radiating off her. Mike can't be here. Sarah asked to stop this. Stop what? Bringing birthday presents to someone I care about. David moved protectively closer to Sarah. I think should leave. Men were to tell me what to do. The words came out sharper than I intended. I've known Sarah for 4 years. We were together for 4 years. We were supposed to get married. We're to, David said quietly. Past tense. Something twisted in my chest. Here was this guy, this stranger who'd been in Sarah's for maybe 2 months, acting like he had any right to speak for her. Sarah, I said, ignoring everyone else, can we talk privately? She looked terrified, actually terrified, of me, the person who used to make her feel safe. Mike, we can't do this here. Need to leave. I brought favorite dinner. From Bella Vista, remember? We went there on 24th birthday and said it was the best pasta I'd ever had. Mike, please. And I got the pineapple grigio from our anniversary. Said it tasted like happiness, remember? I was rambling now, getting desperate, and I could hear how unhinged I sounded, but I couldn't stop. I know you're still upset about what happened, but we can work through this. We were good together, Sarah. We were so good together. Mike, stop. Emma moved between us. You're scaring her. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I'm trying to save my relationship. David's voice was calm but firm. Cheated on her. Broke. She's moved on. There is no relationship. That's when I snapped. Moved on. With some guy she's known for 5 minutes. Think that compares to what we had. Doesn't have to compare to anything, David said. It just has to be honest. Honest. The word hit me like a physical. Don't know her like I do. I said, my voice getting louder. Don't know that she hates action movies but pretends to like them to be polite. Don't know that she cries at insurance commercials when she's PMing. Don't know that she talks in her sleep when she's stressed about work. Mike, stop it. Sarah's voice was shaking. Don't know that she wanted 3 kids and a house with a big backyard for the dog we were going to adopt. Don't know that she's afraid of butterflies but loves spiders. Don't know that I know that she flinches when unexpected people show, David said quietly. I know that she checks her locks twice before bed now. I know that she has nightmares about being followed. I know that did that to her. The words hung in the air like smoke from an. Sarah was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face on her birthday while I stood there holding flowers and Italian food like the world's worst birthday surprise. I never meant to, I said, looking directly at her. Everything I did cause I love Pop. No. Sarah's voice was stronger now, steadier. Everything did because love. Because ego was bruised and needed validation. Didn't cheat because loved me. Cheated because stopped caring about how actions would affect me. She was right, again. She was always right about me when I couldn't see it. But I can change, I said desperately. I am changing. I'm in therapy. I'm working on. We can start over. I don't want to start over with Mike. I want to keep moving forward without. The finality in her voice should have been enough. Should have sent me home to lick my wounds and work on accepting reality. Instead I pulled out the ring box. Marry me. The words fell into the silence like stones into deep water. Sarah's face went ashen. Someone gasped. David stepped forward like he was going to physically intervene. Marry me, Sarah. I know I messed, but I'm here now. I'm choosing us. Mike, no. Sarah was backing away from me now. I bought this ring 6 months ago. I was going to propose after conference, but then everything happened. But I still have it. I kept it because I knew we'd find our way back to each other. Kept it. Sarah's voice was horrified. Kept an engagement ring while we're sleeping with someone else. Put like that, it sounded even worse than I thought possible. It didn't mean anything with her. We're the one I wanted to marry. We're the one I. G-toed her. Sarah's voice cracked like a whip across the rooftop. I never heard her yell before. Never seen her lose control like that. G-toed. Fall oh I am. Don't hard what I am. Stoop to armto. To arm one am to go to ramata gestar. I do went. I do to emoer. I went to Vimilola. Her friends surrounded her as she broke down completely. Emma was on her phone, probably calling building security. David was holding Sarah while she sobbed into his chest. I stood there with my flowers and my takeout and my pathetic proposal, finally understanding what I'd become. I wasn't the romantic hero fighting for true love. I wasn't the devoted boyfriend trying to make amends. I was the scary ex who showed uninvited to his former girlfriend's birthday party and proposed to her in front of her new boyfriend while she begged me to leave her alone. I was the villain in everyone else's story. Security arrived as I was walking to the staircase. Two guys who escorted me down and waited while I put my gifts in my car and drove away. The last thing I saw in my rearview mirror was Sarah on the rooftop, still crying, still being comforted by people who weren't me. I drove home and drank half a bottle of whiskey, called my mom at midnight, crying so hard I could barely speak. She hates me, Mom. She actually hates me. Can't blame her. The question hit like a, I thought if I just showed her how much I loved her. Mike, showing uninvited to someone's birthday party isn't love. Proposing to someone who's asked to leave them alone isn't love. Following someone around town isn't love. That's obsession. I wasn't harassing her, I was trying to win her back. Honey, really listen. If Sarah did to what been doing to her, how would feel? I tried to imagine it. Sarah showing at my work, following me to coffee shops, appearing at my apartment uninvited, refusing to accept that our relationship was over. I'd be terrified. Oh God, I whispered. Oh God, what have I done? Become someone don't recognize, Mom said gently, and now need to decide who want to be going forward. I got served with a restraining order 2 days later. Sarah's lawyer delivered it to my workplace, in front of my coworkers, in front of Kevin, who pulled me into his office afterward and told me I was taking a leave of absence until I got my personal sorted out. The restraining order was thorough: no contact with Sarah, no going to her work, her apartment, places she frequented, no contact through third parties, no social media interaction, would result in arrest. Reading through the document, I saw through the legal system's eyes. The flowers, the surprise visits, the repeated attempts at contact after being told to stop. On paper it looked like textbook stalking behavior, because that's what it was. I become the kind of guy women warn their friends about. The kind of guy who makes people check their locks twice and look over their shoulders. I'd become the person I used to judge when I heard stories like this. Why didn't he just leave her alone? I used to ask, why couldn't he take no for an answer? Now I knew. Because women destroyed the best thing in. Accepting that destruction means accepting that are the kind of person who destroys good things. It means looking in the mirror and seeing a stranger don't want to be. It's easier to believe that love conquers all, that grand gestures matter more than respect, that persistence is romantic instead of terrifying. It's easier to believe you're the hero of own story, even when everyone else sees as the villain. I started intensive therapy 3 times a week. Martinez didn't pull punches anymore. Every boundary Sarah set because decided feelings mattered more than her comfort and safety, she said during one particularly brutal session. Turned her birthday into a trauma. Made her afraid in her own home. Prioritized need to feel like the good guy over her need to heal and move forward. I know that now. Because knowing something intellectually and accepting it emotionally are very different things. Or still talking about this, it happened to instead of something chose to do. She was right. Even in therapy, even trying to take responsibility, part of me was still playing the victim. Still acting like Sarah's success and my insecurity were valid excuses for betrayal. Still acting like her moving on was something being done to me instead of something she had every right to do. The work was brutal. Examining every choice, every rationalization, every moment I'd chosen my ego over her well-being. Learning to sit with the discomfort of being the bad guy in the story without trying to rewrite the ending. I've been in therapy for 8 months now. I've been sober for 6. I've been respecting Sarah's restraining order completely, which means I don't know how she's doing or whether she's happy or if she and David are still together. And that's how it should be. Her isn't my business anymore. Her happiness doesn't depend on my approval or understanding. She gets to move forward without considering my feelings, because I forfeited the right to be considered when I chose to betray her trust. I'm writing this final post because someone needs to say it plainly. This is what happens when convinced that feelings matter more than someone else's boundaries. This is what happens when mistake obsession for love, persistence for romance, and control for caring. This is what happens when refuse to accept that some things can't be fixed, some trust can't be rebuilt, and some people have every right to want nothing to do with. I destroyed a 4-year relationship in 2 months of selfishness, then spent 4 more months turning into someone I don't recognize while trying to undo consequences that can't be undone. Sarah was the best person I've ever known, and I treated her like she was disposable. She deserved better then, and she deserves better now. She deserves to be happy without worrying about whether her psycho ex-boyfriend is going to show at her next birthday party. I can't undo what I did. I can't give her back the sense of safety I stole. I can't erase the fear I caused or the trust I broke. All I can do is stay away, keep working on, and hope that someday I'll understand how I became someone capable of such cruelty towards someone I claim to love. To anyone reading this who sees themselves in my story, stop. Whatever doing, whatever planning, whatever grand gesture think will fix everything, stop. Listen when someone tells no, respect their boundaries. Accept that love without respect isn't love at all. Learn from my mistakes because the alternative is becoming me. And trust me, don't want to be the person who has to write this story. Some bridges don't just sometimes are the one holding the match, and don't realize you're standing on the bridge until it's already ash beneath feet.